In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, hello everyone, and welcome to the new episode of the Fact series in which we discuss international political matters every week. This is Foad Mahdavi, and in this episode, I have the honor of being the host of N Sahiounie, a Syrian American journalist and political commentator from Syria. We are here to discuss Syria's strategic position on the axis of resistance. Thanks for joining us, Stephen, and good to be with you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Let's get started with Syria's strategic importance and role in regional and international relations, as well as a geopolitical competition and planned equation. Go ahead.
Syria's strategic Syria became important regionally in the 1970 when President Hafez Assad came into power, and he made Syria a regional power and a country in the Middle East that had a role in the decisions of the Middle East. And he made sure on making alliances with the East, the countries of the East. In those days, like the Soviet Union in 1979, when the Islamic Revolution threw out the Shah and won and took over Iran, China and Cuba and other free nations. And his main goal was, or Syria's main goal, and the Syrian foreign policy's main goal was resistance, freeing the land and fighting imperialism and fighting the Israeli occupation.
Okay. And do you think, is the unrest in Syria a sort of Islamic awakening?
No, actually not. That's not true. What's happening, the unrest in Syria today is made and supported and funded by the United States and NATO and Turkey, and they are using the new radical Islam, the terrorist groups, that ideology of terrorism. We're not talking about Islam. No, Islam, not the religion. We are talking about the radical Islamic who are being used by the Israeli occupation, by the imperialism in destroying nations like Yemen. They're doing it in Syria, Iraq. They're doing it, and other nations. So what's happening in Syria unrest? It is who are doing it on the ground. The agents on the ground are those radical Islamists, Salafists, Wahhabists, and others, and of course the MB, the Muslim Brotherhood. But it's not an Islamic unrest. Syria has different kind of countries and is always been open.
Okay, some experts say one of the reasons for the unrest in Syria has been the restriction of individual and social freedoms in the country. Is this analysis correct?
No, actually, that is not true at all. Syria has been an open nation. We have social media. We open Syria before the war was open to social media. We were open to the world. You can go and come. You can do anything you want. We do not hunt down in Syria. Or let's say, give an example. Syria does not hunt down their oppositions abroad and chop them up into pieces like how Saudi do. The allies of the United States. They do not do what they do in Qatar or in Bahrain or in Kuwait. Syria has always been open. Syria in 2010 was getting to become no debt, powerful country, good, strong army, strong economy, and that's what pissed off, and that's what made the Americans and the Israeli occupation angry. They did not want a powerful Syria and a powerful Iran and a powerful resistance path. That means more support to the resistance in South Lebanon and in Palestine. And that's why the unrest happened. It was in the first day of the unrest in Syria, it was because to fight, to break down the country and break down the nation and make it weak. So Syria won't think or support the resistance. But after 10 years, as we can see, if it's the Syrian people or the Syrian government, they support the resistance in South Lebanon. They support the resistance in Palestine, and they are very strong allies with the Islamic Republic of Iran.
Okay, that's a chaotic and actually a complicated circumstances in Syria. Will the Bashar al-Assad government be able to resolve the crisis and insecurity in Syria?
First of all, it's the Syrian government. Bashar al-Assad is the president of Syria, so it's the Syrian government. Let's use that term. The Syrian government, yes, it will finish the unrest and start the rebuilding of Syria, but of course with the help of the allies, Syria's allies, Iran and Russia. Together they will finish, as they want together, the war against terrorism, and the war against the political war was defeated by these allies. The American war on Syria, political, is defeated. Now there's a new stage of war on Syria, and it's economical war, and it will also be defeated with Syria and its allies. Yes, Syria's government is capable, and the Syrian president is capable to get out Syria of this crisis, but we have to wait until the American elections, so a new American administration comes in that respects international law, that respects the sovereignty of nations, and sits on the table. Because if we're talking about militarily going in with America, we're talking about World War III, and no nation on the face of Earth wants that. So the crisis of all the crises of the region is going to be delayed, as I see, until after the American elections. And stability in the United States, as we can see, there's chaos over there.
Mm-hmm. Of course, you can expand your words if you like, covering whole aspects. You can expand your words. There is no limitation. If you would like to expand your words, there is no limitation. I would like to point this matter to you. Okay. Another significant thing is the role of Turkey here. Why is Turkey at the forefront of military and security measures against Syria? And what are the country's goal in overthrowing Bashar al-Assad's government or Syrian government?
Turkey occupied this land for over 400 years, and took and did all kind of massacres and stole this land for 400 years. And the unity of the Syrian people and other neighboring countries in those days kicked out the Ottoman Empire. Today, President Erdogan has a dream of making a new empire, Ottoman Empire, and he always had the greed of occupying the north of Syria, and especially Aleppo, the industrial capital of Syria, Aleppo. But that did not work, and that's what he's trying to do, is by funding terrorism, getting the Uyghurs from China and sending them to Syria, the Chechenian fighters, and sending them to Syria, supporting ISIS, Al-Nusra Front, Tahrir al-Sham, and others. That was his goal, is to take over the north of Syria and occupy it. But that did not work in Aleppo, and as we can see, the tension came back in Idlib, and we might see an operation soon in Idlib, and the Syrian army and their allies getting back Idlib back from the Turkish. So the thing is, what Turkey is trying to do is remaking the dream of the new Ottoman Empire, but that project is dead before being made. It's a dream, actually. It's not even a project. It's a dream.
Oh, great. And what do you think the role of Iran in maintaining Syria and resolving the crisis?
Since 1979, and when President Assad made the good relationship with Iran, Iran and Syria was friends and allies, and as brother back to back. We all remember in the 8-year war with Iraq, Syria supported and stand with Iran, and stood with Iran loyal. And that was, today we are seeing Iran after 10 years, Iran doing the same thing. Iran standing with Syria, supported Syria economically, politically, and militarily. And this war against Syria, it's not only a war against people or against Syria. This war in Syria against Syria is on the ideology of resistance. They want to fight that, and that is what the leadership in Iran and the leadership in Syria worked on for decades. And that's why we saw the defeat of the Israeli occupation in 2006, and the defeat of the Israeli occupation in Gaza, and in Iraq, the defeat of the Americans. because of that resistance ideology. And that's why today we're seeing Iran standing loyal with Syria, because that project is a joint project, and it goes from Tehran through Baghdad, through Damascus, all the way to Lebanon and Palestine. And that's why they've been doing all of these wars, starting from the 80s, going through the 90s to the 2000s, and all the way till today, by assassinations, about killing, even economical war against Iran and Syria. What they're doing today against Syria is not new. The sanctions have been since 1970. The sanctions against Iran since been 1979, because Iran and Syria both do not go by what America does. Tehran and Damascus are not like Cairo and Riyadh. We do not, in Syria and Iran, do not take orders from anyone. They're sovereign countries, and they're fighting imperialism, and that's what pisses off the occupation, the Israeli occupation, and the Americans, is the resistance. So I see Iran and Syria working together, and in the end coming out of this war, and as all of the other wars, they came out together, victory and stronger. Syria and Iran will come out victorious in this war and stronger.
And what do you predict the actual conclusion and the end of regional crisis?
In the regional crisis, I see, as we can see, also tension in Lebanon, and that's part go through of the war against, as I just said, against Syria and Iran, the resistant path, as we say. So also when the Syrian war finishes and there's a deal about Syria, we will see the Lebanese crisis finished and the Syrian crisis finished. And as I said about, let's say, for example, the nuclear deal, I think we have to wait until a new administration comes, when the Americans wake up and stop acting like they are the bully and they are the police of the world, and respect international law and respect the sovereignty of countries. That's what we have to wait, and we have to see. In Iraq, the tension doesn't look like an end, because we're seeing the Saudi money being pumped to funding the unrest in Iraq. The Yemenis, as we can see, after all of these years of the war against the brave men of Yemen, the Yemenis are still standing, are still defeating the Saudis, still launching missiles on the Saudi army bases. So the Yemeni, no one could have beaten the Yemeni, because they're strong, and as we can see, they're fighting for their rights. So the Yemeni war will finish when the Saudis stop, and it looks like they are coming to an end, because Saudi Arabia's financial situation is really bad, and they cannot afford the war against Yemen that much anymore. As we can see, the economical situation in all of the countries, monarchies, Saudi, Kuwait, Bahrain, all of the countries over there. Libya, the unrest is, unfortunately, I see it's really bad, because Turkey is interfering and supporting and funding, and all sides are funding from all sides. Like the only situation, the only way to finish Libya is to sit on the table and sit and negotiate with each other.
Great. At the end, if you would like to add something more, I'm all ears.
I just want to add, the day before yesterday, the United States announced the beginning of the Caesar sanctions on Syria. As I said, these sanctions are not new, but the sanctions who's targeted is the Syrian people, who after 10 years of war, who lost loved ones by these terrorists. That's to cause the Syrian people to suffer and to kneel. It's not going to work. Iran has been going through these sanctions also since 1979, but Iran got stronger and stronger and stronger. And I see the Syria taking the Iran way and getting depending on their industry, depending on their agriculture, depending on improving themselves inside, and working together and to defeat these sanctions, and hope safety for everyone. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Stephen. Thanks for joining us again, and I do appreciate you to your noteworthy remarks. You're welcome. I hope things are going well with you, and goodbye.